Yes, indeed. It is a Tuesday edition of the Bullpen with Adam the Bull. It is Tuesday, November the 1st, and November starts on a great note for the Browns. The Browns had to play like their season was on the line Monday night because it was, and that's exactly how they played. Their best game of the year. We'll talk about it for the next 25, 30 minutes coming up in the Bullpen with Adam the Bull.
Podcast is not for the faint of heart.
And I do think it's time for the Browns to move on.
It's not for those who ride the fence.
He's proven nothing.
But if you're looking for someone who tells it like it is about Cleveland sports,
everybody does fandom their way.
You've come to the right place.
I don't think he's any good.
It's time for the Bullpen with Adam the Bull.
With a victory last night, the Browns didn't get themselves in the playoffs. But what they did do, if they got it, which they did, was keep themselves alive for the playoffs. And what they did on the field last night in downtown Cleveland was remarkable. It was by far their best game of the year. And for whatever reason, can't really explain it, they have completely dominated Joe Burrow and the Bengals. Joe Burrow's rookie year, that's one thing. The Browns were the better team that year. But these last 2 years, the last two games he's played, Joe Burrow's played against the Browns, it's been remarkable. If you'd only seen him play against the Browns, you'd think he was the worst quarterback in football. All due credit to the Cleveland Browns, who had a great game plan, as they have often. They got to run the ball in the fourth quarter. Why? Because they had a lead, so of course they ran the ball in the fourth quarter. The reality is the Browns didn't give the ball to Nick Chubb that much more in the first three quarters than they normally do. It was pretty much like they do. But this time they had the lead. They dominated the game. They played great defense, and they were able to run the ball in the fourth quarter to put the game away. The Browns get an A across the board. Everybody did a great job yesterday with almost no exceptions. 32-13 is the final, but in reality, it was not even that close. The Browns had a 25-point lead at the end of three quarters, scored 2 touchdowns in the third quarter against a team that had not given up an offensive touchdown all year. First 7 games, Bengals allowed 2 offensive touchdowns in the allowed 0 offensive touchdowns in the second half in 7 games. Last night, the Browns scored 3 touchdowns in the second half, 4 total for the game, and they dominate in every single way to defeat the Bengals yet again and improve to 3-5 with a 32-13 victory. Lots of game balls to hand out, if you will. What's amazing is, you talk about running the ball, on a per-carry basis, the Browns didn't really run it that great. They averaged less than 4 yards per carry. Nick Chubb was the best at 4.4, but between him and Kareem Hunt, they averaged barely over 4 yards per carry, but it was certainly, which for them is not great. For other teams, it's fine, but not for the Browns. And Nick Chubb grinded out 101 yards and 2 touchdowns, including the one that I guess put it to bed for good in the fourth quarter. Although I think the game was long over by that point. Kareem Hunt, 4 receptions, 11 carries. So he grinded out some yards too. I thought the Bengals actually did a decent job against the run, but the Browns stuck with it. Ended up with 44 carries. But for the 3 quarters of this game before it was completely over, the Browns were balanced, and they did an excellent job. In the passing game, Jacoby Brissett, stupid thing. For 3 quarters, the Browns threw the ball well. Jacoby Brissett was 17 of 22, 278 yards and a touchdown. The one throw by Amari Cooper, of course, turned into an interception. And I'm sure everybody hated that play. And, whatever. When trick play doesn't work, we all hate it. But Amari Cooper, besides that throw and an early drop, picked it up, had 5 catches on 7 targets, 131 yards and a touchdown. And a nice play in the end zone after bobbling it. Had that long catch late in the game. Donovan Peoples-Jones, I love this guy. I've been on him for a while. All 4 of his targets for 81 yards. Listen, and the offensive line did a great job. But I started with the offense, and it's really unfair because this game was about the defense. The offense played great, but the defense, the offense has been really good for the most part this season. This was probably their best performance, but the offense playing well is not shocking. What was shocking is how well the defense played after not playing well for most of the year. Couple of names to talk about, first of all. Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett, he did a lot of talking this week. Talked about burying quarterbacks. He talked about, he did all the Halloween stuff, and if it doesn't go well, we're scratching our head at that. But I said for the last couple of days, Myles Garrett, who I said, I love the guy, I do, but he's got to back up all this talking. He better back it up, and usually when he does talking, he backs it up, and he certainly did. He set the tone for the defense in the first half, had tipped the ball that led to the interception, had a tackle for a loss, had a sack, 1.5 sacks. He made a lot of big plays in this game and set the tone early, and then other guys stepped up as well. I thought Sione Takitaki, who finished the game with 13 tackles and a sack, and one of those 13 tackles for a loss. I mean, he was all over the place when the top 3 linebackers on the team all out. And this guy was looking like a bust early. Not that he was that high a pick, but looking like a bust early in his career. He has played really well this year. The rookie corner, Martin Emerson, had a great game. 2 passes defended, 9 tackles. Not afraid to get up there and mix it up. Deion Jones, who didn't look great in his first game with the Browns, was fantastic yesterday. He had a sack. He had another quarterback hit. They just, everybody played well. I can't say anything bad about anybody. I mean, there's a few little tidbits here and there you can complain about. But for the most part, Browns actually had a kick return. They actually had a punt return, got a few yards there. I know Cade York had the field goal blocked. I saw fans blaming him. I don't know how we blame him for the blocked field goal. He nailed the second field goal. 55 yards, hit his 3 extra points, where Evan McPherson, who was great last year for the Bengals, has struggled. He missed a field goal and an extra point. The Browns just thoroughly dominated the Bengals across the board. I am stunned by this, and I know the Browns have played well against the Bengals, but I did not see this coming. Even without Jamar Chase, and that is zero excuse. That's no excuse. The Browns had plenty of injuries. Injuries are part of football. I never made the excuse for Baker Mayfield. I don't make excuses for injuries. That's it. It's part of the game. You got to play with it. Burrow was awful. The Bengals were horrendous across the board, but it's all due credit to the Browns. They just thoroughly dominated them in the trenches on both sides of the ball. They played with more energy. They played with more want to. They played with more nastiness, toughness. There's nothing bad I could say. It's an A+. Joe Woods, great job. Everybody, great job. Kevin Stefanski, I've never really doubted Kevin Stefanski. Well, that's not true. I was scratching my head at him a little bit last week. Doubts have crept in at times, but the truth is that I've been convinced this guy's a good coach. Now, people went too far in rookie year. Great coach, no. But the guy, and I think for the most part he does a good job. And I think people are obsessed with his 20 carry number for Nick Chubb. It's silly. He got 9 carries in the fourth quarter because they were up big. Let's not make it seem like because he had 20 carries they won. That was irrelevant in whether they won or lost. He did get 20 carries. They would have won if he ended up with 17 carries. It wouldn't have mattered. So, but in the end, there's nothing bad I could say about anybody. What can I do? The Bengals embarrassed themselves with their celebrations on the field. Tyler Boyd embarrassed himself. I like Tyler Boyd a lot. Obviously, people know I'm a Bengals fan. You score a touchdown to make it 25-6. You can't be doing any celebrating there. That's a freaking embarrassment. He should be criticized for that. But the Browns get an A+, the Bengals get a Z. That's how bad it was. That's how dominant the performance was. I thought Grant Delpit, I haven't mentioned him yet. I thought he played a good game for the first time. Isaiah Thomas got his first NFL sack, also another tackle for a loss, another quarterback hit. He had a nice game. Even the guys that I haven't mentioned. I mean, it was the Bengals did nothing. The 13 points were all scored in garbage time. I thought Zach Taylor was an idiot for leaving Joe Burrow in that long, the beating he was taking. They pressured him all night. They were on top of him all night. The Browns just kicked ass in this game. They kicked ass. And how about Jacoby Brissett averaging over 12.5 yards per attempt? And what's amazing is, even though they ran the ball a lot, the defense and the passing game actually the running game was fine. It was good. But the defense and the running game and the passing game actually outperformed the running game. And if that can happen, wow, the Browns can win a lot of games because we know how well they good they are running the ball. But just, remarkable. It was really remarkable. Jacoby Brissett, he had the one screw up where they called it an interception. It was eventually changed to a fumble. That was a bad play. Outside of that, I mean, he only had 5 incompletions. There was a couple of drops, but for the most part, he was just spectacular. He really was. So 20. Let's see. Yeah, he threw the ball away twice, so he really only had 3 incompletions on plays he tried to make. One of them, Amari Cooper, should have been able to make that catch. The other one was there was a pass to Michael Woods. I don't remember that one that was incomplete, and one more to Amari Cooper. But I mean, I sound like a little bit of a broken record here, but it was I'm still kind of stunned. I'll be honest. I'm recording this in the middle of the night. We did the post-game show after the game, and then I went to check out the Spaces thing that I don't really know much about. With Chops, and I listened to that for a little while, and then I had a little something to eat because I was hungry, and I started recording this podcast about what time is it now? It's 12:50 Tuesday morning. So I'm still just shocked, and I'm not going to be a phony. Obviously, from a fan standpoint, I'm disappointed for the Bengals, but that's why I say I hate when the Bengals play the Browns. But in a way, it's good because I'm never when the Bengals lose to the Browns, it doesn't feel as bad because I want the Browns to do well also. So it's really stunning, and I'm so impressed by how the Browns played. And now I just hope that after a bye week and maybe getting some guys healthy, maybe getting David Njoku back, hopefully for Miami, who they'll play in 12 days. Hopefully they can turn this into something. You have 3 more games with Jacoby Brissett: Miami, Buffalo, and Tampa Bay. I think the Browns are going to need to win 2 of those 3 games to give Deshaun Watson a shot. We in the beginning of the year, a lot of us said, "Hey, if you go 5-6, you have a chance." We really wanted them to go 6-5. I said they'd go 5-6 in the 11. Going into tonight, I didn't think they were going to be 5-6. Now I think they got a shot. This game gives them the shot to get it 5-6. The next 2 weeks will be very tough after the bye. You go to Miami, and then you go to Buffalo. Those are really tough games. The Buffalo one, the Browns will be a significant favorite, especially if they lose to Miami. But if you can find a way to win one of those 2, more likely Miami, then you come home and play a Tampa team that seems to be struggling. Now, maybe, they play them right at Thanksgiving weekend, so maybe by that point they'll be in better shape. But that's a game that seems winnable. If you split with the Dolphins in Buffalo and can get that Buccaneer game, you'll be 5-6, still in the mix. And then 4 of the final 6 games are against the Texans, the Saints, the Commanders, and Steelers. Not good teams. And then you play the Bengals, you've played great against, and then the Ravens game is at home. So the Browns got a shot if they can win 2 out of the next 3 with Jacoby Brissett. We said he needed to go at least 5-6 to give him a chance. They've got a chance to do it now. They've got a chance to do it. And, and you got some contributions from the rookies. Michael Woods made a play. Martin Emerson had a great game. Isaiah Thomas had his best game as a pro. Cade York made a big field goal. So you got some contributions from some of these young guys. I loved, the extra offensive linemen on the goal line plays. That block by James Hudson, who's done a great job whenever he's been asked to fill in. This guy was probably going to be their starting right tackle next year. Jack Conklin will probably move on from him at the end of the season, and I think they're ready to hand the right tackle job to James Hudson, who frankly has been better than Jedrick Wills. He really has. All right, betonline.net, your number one source for betting football and the start of the new basketball season. Find all of the latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcasts, and in-depth analysis on every game. And as always, BetOnline remains your continued source for all your sports wagering information with live betting and up-to-the-minute scores for every sport out there. The fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite games and events, including MLB, MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to the website today or use a mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, the trade deadline is, again, it's almost 1 o'clock Tuesday morning at the moment I'm recording this, but by the time you listen, it's going to be probably at the earliest 7, 8 in the morning. But as of now, we are 15 hours and change away from the trade deadline. Kareem Hunt had some interesting things to say in the postgame. We'll talk about whether or not he will still get traded, potentially, even after the Browns win. I'll get to that next, right here in the bullpen with Adam the Bull. All right, I'm coming back. Don't stop the podcast. I'm back. All right. A little water here. Okay. So, Kareem Hunt, in the postgame, our guy Jason Lloyd, I was texting with Jason a little bit ago, asked him if he thought Kareem Hunt was getting traded. He says he doesn't think so. But Kareem Hunt did, despite the big win and the big game, Kareem Hunt sounded like a guy who either wants to be traded or thinks he's going to be traded. But, listen, if the Browns had gotten a great deal for Kareem Hunt, they probably would have traded him already. Which means I'm sure they've got some offer for him. But you went all in on this season. And the reality is the Browns probably still won't go to the playoffs. However, the win last night gives them a chance. And when you do have Deshaun Watson coming back in 3 weeks, even understanding that Kareem Hunt's probably going to leave at the end of the season, if you're not getting that much for him anyway, you might as well go down fighting. If they had lost last night, 2-6, all right, there's nothing really left to fight for. But the fact that they still have a realistic shot, at least I think it's realistic, of being 5-6 before Deshaun Watson comes back for the Texans game, then I think they should stick with Kareem Hunt. I think fans at this point, I think we were kind of resigned to him potentially being traded. But after the way the Browns played last night and going into a bye, giving you some hope here, especially with maybe, hopefully, David Njoku coming back as well. Maybe he and Wyatt Teller can both get back for the next game, although Froholt has done a really nice job, it seems, at least to the naked eye. I don't know what his PFF grades are, but it seems like the naked eye that he's done a nice job of filling in for Wyatt Teller, but you'd still have rather Wyatt Teller. He's a Pro Bowl caliber player. And hopefully David Njoku, who's been great since week 3. If you get those two guys back and you keep Kareem Hunt and you stay aggressive and you get some leads and you use these guys, and they used Kareem Hunt a lot yesterday, obviously, I don't want to give up. Trading away Kareem Hunt doesn't give up on the season, but it feels like you're giving up on the season. And you have all this momentum, right? I'm not a big momentum guy, but you do have some momentum here. And to trade Kareem Hunt for a third, probably not even a third, but even if it's a third or fourth round pick, coming off this win would be quite the bummer. Like, the fan base is feeling good for the first time in a while. This is the best the fan base has felt in a while. To now, less than 24 hours later, trade Kareem Hunt and make it seem like, whether it's true or not, that you're giving up on the season coming off the biggest win in a calendar year, that would suck. Now, ultimately, that's probably shouldn't be a reason not to make the trade, but I want to make it a reason not to make the trade. So, I think they probably won't trade Kareem Hunt after the win. I think if they were going to trade him, they probably would have traded him already. And again, maybe that would have changed if they gotten smoked tonight. But the opposite happened. They did the smoking. They dominated. They played like we hoped they could play. Really better. I mean, they played basically a flawless game. You're not going to play like this all the time. There's not blowout. NFL blowouts are rare. The NFL, unlike college football, where most of the games are blowouts, the NFL, most of the games are close. Most of the games come down to the end. We've seen that all year with the Browns. We see it, any year they've been decent with the Browns. Most games come down to the end. Most games are not one-sided. You look at the NFL schedule this week, 2/3 of the games were within a touchdown. But, so you're not going to play this well every week. But, man, what a bummer it would be if they traded Kareem Hunt coming off this victory. And you'd have to do it, like I said, less than 24 hours. The trade deadline is 17 hours after the game ended, 16 and change. And, man, I got to give Jacoby Brissett a ton of credit here. And I'll talk more about that when I come back. Quick break in the bullpen with Adam the Bull. Jacoby Brissett has not been a very good quarterback in his NFL career. And Jacoby Brissett, at times, has played like a backup quarterback this season. He did not play well against Carolina. Missed a ton of throws in the opener. In the 2-minute drill, 2-minute offense, when the other team knows he's throwing the ball, he's been awful in those situations. And that's why they've lost some close games. However, overall, through 8 weeks of this football season, Jacoby Brissett has far exceeded my expectations. I thought he would play at a below average level at best, and he has played at an above average level. He has been, for the most part, a solid quarterback for the Browns. Not spectacular. You can't put them on the back. He's not bringing you back from a huge deficit. He's not throwing for 300 yards. But he, more often than not, has done enough to get the Browns a victory. And until the last couple of weeks, it was the defense that was killing them and killing him. But this week, especially, defense showed improvement last week against Baltimore, but this was a whole nother story. This was essentially a shutout to me. When the game is in doubt, the Bengals did not score. And frankly, they barely moved the ball. Last year, the Bengals moved the ball in the first drive. Burrow threw a pick six to Denzel Ward for 100 yards, and that was all she wrote. And the same thing kind of happened here. I mean, it was a close game at halftime. But the Browns started to take control of this game offensively after, both teams played great defense early. The Browns continued to play great defense. They got the pick early when Burrow's only good drive, really, until the end, that first drive. And then the tip by Myles Garrett, and then the pick. And, man, it was all. And then the Browns offense got going late in the second quarter. And it was the second half, was the third quarter before the game was out of reach. Browns completely dominated on both sides of the ball. And at 25-0, the game was over. I know Browns fans like, it's never over. That game was over. The Bengals were not coming back. I, frankly, would have taken Joe Burrow out of that game earlier. I was surprised that Zach Taylor didn't, but I guess I shouldn't be surprised. I don't think he's a very good coach, despite the fact that sometimes it's the talent you have. Right? Bengals went to the Super Bowl last year. I don't think that makes Zach Taylor a good coach. Browns were lousy last year. They've been lousy for much of this year. I don't think that necessarily makes Kevin Stefanski a bad coach. In fact, I think he's a pretty good coach. I don't think he's great. I think people got carried away after year one, but I think he's a pretty solid coach. I've always believed that. We'll see how good he is. And we'll see what he can do once he has, for the first time, after 3 more weeks, a franchise caliber quarterback who will likely be rusty, who will not have played in nearly 2 calendar years. But I can't wait to see how good this offense can be with Deshaun Watson under center, and I'm excited to see him play. But Jacoby's held it together and deserves a ton of credit being a leader, playing well, doing more than we expected. And he was really funny late in the game when he's calling 55. I almost got you. I know you want to blitz. He showing some humor and leadership, and that was good. Jacoby Brissett has earned a lot of respect this year, deservedly so. He's had a magnificent, magnificent season. And they're not, again, I would say if they had Deshaun Watson, they'd probably have a better record. But that's only because he's just a better player, and he could overcome more defensive mistakes. But they have not lost games because of Jacoby Brissett. They've lost games mostly because of the defense and special teams. And how about Mike Prefer, who's done a terrible job overall? When Evan McPherson misses the field goal, the camera goes to Prefer for some reason. I don't know why the camera went to him. And he's like doing the fist pump like he did something. The Browns didn't block the kick. McPherson just missed the kick. It wasn't like they put the camera on Prefer and he's pumping his fist as if, he did something or the special teams did something. They didn't do anything. They just got lucky. That was so weird. That guy's looking for any credit he can get. All right, but there you go. So Browns get the bye off, get a week off, get healthy. We can all watch random football again next weekend. And then, got an itchy nose. And then they'll come back against Miami. Games on the road again. It'll be a challenge. Browns are far from out of the woods here. Next 3 weeks are not going to be, especially the next 2 weeks. Going to Miami and Buffalo. Two teams that are a combined 11-4, I think. And Miami has not lost. Obviously we know what Buffalo is, and Miami has not lost a game in the games that Tua has played the whole game. They're undefeated. Undefeated in the games that Tua's played the whole game. He played the first 3 games they won. Then they lost their first game. Their first loss was to the Bengals in a game that Tua got hurt. And then they lost with Bridgewater, and I can't remember who their third quarterback was. I think they played in the next 2 games. They got lost to the Jets, lost to the Vikings. And then Tua comes back, and they beat the Steelers and Lions. So Tua's 5-0 in the games that he's started and finished. And 2 of those wins are against the Bills, who were great. The Ravens were good. Patriots were okay. And then the last 2 against the Lions and Steelers, who stink. And they'll play the Bears this week, so there's a decent chance they'll be 6-3. But again, it's the NFL. You never know. They don't have a week off. Kevin Stefanski 2-0 after bye weeks. So everything right now looking pretty promising. All right, make sure you subscribe to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show YouTube page, which is where you can, and click the bell. You can find out about our membership levels now, $1.99 a month for basic membership, $4.99 a month for what we're calling the coaches membership with a lot of bonus content and stuff. Nothing will change on the show. You'll still get everything for free, all the post-game shows for free as we had last night. But you'll get some bonus content for the $4.99 level. It'll cost you less than $60 for the entire year. So, and that's where you can find my podcast as well. So subscribe, hit the bell so you get alerts whenever the podcast comes out, whenever we do a post-game show, whenever we have breaking news or any videos come out from the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Please subscribe. Our goal is to get to 20,000. Our goal was really to get to 20,000 subscribers by the, I think our goal initially was to get to 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. We're over 17,000. I'd like to, and then the new goal became, let's get to 20,000 by the end of the year. I want to get to 20,000 by the end of November. I think we can do it. We're about 2,800 away. So please subscribe. Tell everybody to subscribe. Please follow me on Twitter, of course, if you don't already, at Adam the Bull. And check out my website, adamthebull.com. Also checked out the Locked On Browns podcast with G. Bush and Jeff Lloyd. And on my website, I mentioned adamthebull.com, where you can check out some things and hire me for special occasions, speaking engagements, whatever you want to do. Check out my Cameo as well, Adam the Bull, where I can make videos for you. I've done some good ones, some funny ones, at least ones that people have told me are funny, and I think are funny, but you never know. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Where else but right here in the bullpen with Adam the Bull. See ya.